One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am your host, David Streggy, here in the room with the Inside Movies Galore crew. And also, as well, we have Sam back here in the room with us. So welcome back, Sam.
Thank you.
Well, welcome
Glad
back,
to be back.
Red Raven, from your a little bit of a vacation from us.
Thank you.
And tonight's pick was from Dustin here. Evidently, he has a little bit of a history with the film. So why don't you, Dustin, tell us a little bit about the film and where you first saw it?
Well, so tonight's movie is the 1996 TV movie Peter Benchley's The Beast, based off the book of the same name. I first saw it on USA in 1996 when it was aired as a miniseries. So it was one of the first monster movies they really let me watch.
And how long was it?
It was split up into a 2-night event. So it's a 3-hour movie in essentially two 90-minute movies. So I think I was maybe 9 or 10, so I missed most of the first part except for the ending, and so I had to really fight to make sure that I caught the second part, and I ended up being able to tape it, like the good old VHS days, and I rewatched the crap out of it over and over and over again. I loved this movie when I was little. I even had a little rubber toy squid, and I had this Lego boat that it would smash up during bath time. And I would do that for weeks after I saw this.
Rubber ducky, you're the one.
That'd be weird.
Rubber ducky there, man.
Except it's a squid. Anyway. So since you're here, why don't you tell me, was this your first time watching the film?
Sam?
Yeah. Oh, one second. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I thought I cut out there for a second. Yeah. So this was my first time watching the film. I kind of watched it. I watched half of it this morning and the second half this afternoon. So I did kind of have to break it up.
Okay.
And so I kind of got the same experience. Honestly, I was really surprised at how much the film focused not just on the monster and the creature, but even on the human characters. It focused a lot on the drama between the characters. It focused on characters that had real life issues like financial problems, and I really enjoyed even those parts of the film. And I liked how, because these are real people, that are really having to deal with this really
malevolent.
Really malevolent, really kind of almost unthinkable creature. And I just really like the human element, how the human element didn't fall on the wayside in this picture.
Okay.
And in terms of the action, I mean, it wasn't as exciting or scary as something like Jaws, or I'm pretty sure if this was a feature film, there probably would have been a little less talk and a little more action. But for a miniseries, I really liked it a lot. I just really loved the human characters, and my favorite part of the film was actually when he's describing to a room of people what the squid does, and this, it has these long tentacles and spikes the size of his hand, and this is the description alone there was just about scary as anything else they could have shown on the screen.
Okay.
So obviously a low budget film, but yeah.
I made a note of that. I was like, damn, that monologue. I didn't remember it being that intense.
Red Raven, this was a first time watch for you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of long, like you said. It was it needed to be broken up. It was a made for TV movie though, so you guys were saying it was showing in 2 parts.
Yep. So you could almost call it a mini series.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and then it was based off of a book,
yep.
but it didn't follow the book exactly. There was parts of it that yeah.
Oh. No, go
and
on.
then But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie.
Okay. Brandon, why don't you tell us the first time that you saw this movie or miniseries?
Well, that was recently. We actually split it up. I was surprised to find out my wife enjoyed the movie when she first saw it. So we watched it together in two parts. So it kind of mirrored the TV, I guess.
Well, actually, I saw it when it originally aired on TV. I taped it off of TV. I still have
Yeah.
it somewhere.
And I believe that I did the same myself when I had good old VHS myself. So I remember it being on USA and it being a lot longer. But you know what? I got used to lengthy periods myself.
I think it originally came on NBC, actually, if I remember correctly.
It
Yeah.
was?
Yeah, originally it came on NBC and then it went to the USA channel.
Really?
You know, all I know is that this definitely had all the trademarks of a 1990s miniseries. I mean, it just had that look and that feel and just that pace that was very typical of the time period when people actually, you know, would dedicate two nights or sometimes even 3 or 4 nights, you know, just to watch a miniseries. I mean, you could never get people to do that nowadays.
No.
They don't make TV movies like they used to.
Well,
No.
I mean, shoot, you had like a whole bunch of really good ones that were stretched out, like The Stand.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Storm of the Century was actually pretty good too, and that was well, I want to think of it's recent, but I guess it's not that recent.
I don't know. The 90s, to me, that wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Well, I think the age of the miniseries is starting to die down a little bit, and I think even though Stephen King still enjoys that, you know, that platform because
Well, don't you think that Netflix kind of has replaced that, like, you know, the made for Netflix movies or you know, on
the TV series that you can just mow through in a day, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
more or less.
But I mean, for the 1990s, this was a relatively. I mean, there were several different made for TV movies that were made from Peter Benchley's novels, mainly because of, and I think because of Jaws' cult-like status.
Mm-hmm.
At least to me, because if it weren't for Jaws, it wouldn't have made these movies possible.
Well, and speaking of Jaws, that's exactly what this storyline kind of made me. I mean, honestly, storyline wise, this kind of felt like Jaws. Like it starts with a disaster, and then there's a town that's kind of in crisis, and then at the end they decide to go after the monster. It was very much like Jaws in terms of its plot layout.
Oh yeah. And what did everyone think about that little plot twist where they only killed the baby?
That was a surprise
Expecting that.
back then because it was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's it. Of course, like now I know that giant squid don't really do that. Like the entire it's the baby one and its mother was taking care of it. That is absolute bullshit. For certain. Like
Maybe,
no fucking way. But you know, back then it was like, oh, neat.
maybe they thought they were going to do a follow up like Return of the Beast or something like that.
Well, when watching it again the other day, I kind of I noticed that you could have maybe figured out that they did get the wrong one, like right when you see the one that they killed, because like we've seen glimpses of the thing in the attack sequences, and it just like the colors are off, the proportions are off. Like if you've been really paying attention, you would be like, wait a minute. And then of course we have the reveal. But you could maybe tell.
I guess my favorite part of the film, if I had to put a favorite out there, is the part where the one guy was going out there to set his traps. All of a sudden, you see the whole the thing come out from underneath the boat, and it's like bigger than his boat. You know.
You just get like a glimpse of it as it glides under his boat. Like I always found stuff like that like really eerie, and like that still worked on me. It's like, oh god, what is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that kind of effect. The other thing that I noticed is that they had actually two different computer systems there. The one that was on the one guy's boat, and then the other one that seemed like it was more advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the main character's boat had like a nice looking fish finder, whereas our pseudo villain,
otherwise known as Mr. Giggles.
was he Mr. Giggles?
Dr. Giggles, yeah.
Giggles.
What the heck? Well, anyway, the guy who manages to kill like the baby squid, like his fish finder is clearly like older, like broken down. Like that's a plot thing where it like doesn't reliably work, and that's partially what gets them killed, I think. So there was kind of the contrast between the two. You know, the scummy guy who's like trap fishing, you know, just has whatever equipment because he's cheap, versus like our main character has. I was trying to make a point somehow. Our main character has better stuff. He's got a nicer boat. He's got better stuff. Like it made sense.
Like
to me
he
within the
deserves it.
universe.
He deserves.
There was a
that.
lot of people that died in this movie. A lot of people got killed by the squid.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I remember, it was at least like 11.
Yeah. So there was a high body count,
Mhm.
at least for a monster movie. So or at least a miniseries, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, including the doctor at the end and the millionaire who wanted to, keep
That
it
was
alive to take to a museum.
That was a terrible plan, and it's like I think
Yeah.
I think I said that the movie. If you're familiar with monster movie tropes, like the movie is really predictable, but you're having a good enough time that you don't really care. So
Oh, yeah,
as
yeah. It
soon
was
as
totally
he's like,
predictable, yeah.
as soon as he's like, it's not dead. It's like, yep, you're gone.
But
Well-
you know, though, the fact that it was predictable actually kind of adds to the suspense because we know that the characters aren't safe, even though they think they are.
Well,
That's a pretty good point too.
yeah.
Well, you'd think after so many people dying that it's inevitable that they can't fight it, you know?
Well, and also there's always that stupid politician involved. There's always somebody who owns owns either part of the island or at least wants his hand in on everything that's happening. He wants to keep the beaches open, for tourist season.
You know, the thing with the raft is one of my favorite jokes of all time. Did you guys remember that?
Oh, at the beginning.
Yeah, so the squid kills its first victims and leaves behind their expensive life raft. And our main character salvages it, and he's bringing it in, like he's gonna sell it. He needs the money. And so like the Coast Guard guys like show up, and it's like, well, the harbor master wants to confiscate this, piece of salvage, and it's like he can't do that. Well, technically he can. It's like, what a jerk! I need the money.
Mhm.
And then the assistant is like, of course I cannot ascertain what type of damage the raft may or may not have sustained during your attempts to retrieve it. And the guy just like pops the shit out of it. Like I love that joke. It's like, yeah, I know my boss is a dick, but here's something you can do.
You know, and corporations are always kind of, the rich and the corporations are always kind of the villain of these kind of stories. I mean, totally unrelated to this film, but I watched the movie last night called Little Pink House about how a corporation wants to steal someone's house, and it's just kind of the same thing. You know, it's like it's a very easy villain to create, but it's also one that we can all relate to. I mean, everybody just hates that kind of that kind of character or that kind of mentality.
Yeah, what'd you guys think of the somewhat twist near the end? It's like, my other condition, he comes too. It's like, what? Like, could you imagine if Brody had been like, and you're coming on the boat with us, Mayor, whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
There's-
you know.
There's a similar movie that I'm trying to think of the name of it, where it kind of reminds me of. Oh yeah, that's right. Because Jaws had a mayor as well.
Yeah, Charles had a mayor. Yeah.
That wanted to,
I did
you
just
know,
say that.
the beach is open. So they're that for that reason, and the reason why they're closing the beaches.
Yeah.
Reminds
Or even Jurassic Park, you had, this is a few years after Jurassic Park came out, and in that film you had the lawyer who wanted to make millions off that place. I mean, you always have that one character
my side is the blood-sucking lawyer.
it's always
Like, we can charge anything we want. 1,000 a day, 10,000 a day, and people will pay
yeah.
it.
So I mean, and when you think about when this show was made, I really think that Jurassic Park probably even had just as much influences as Jaws did.
They were like close-ups of the eye. I feel that like kind of owed something to Jurassic Park. And then when they show the squids, claws, so I have kind of a surprise for everybody. I keep talking about how I want to write a review for the Movies Galore blog. Well, I have a review of this about 80% done.
Hey.
So, surprise!
Yay.
And I've been doing a lot of research. It's going to be, I have a lot of squid information in here. And giant squid don't really have hooks in their tentacles like that.
No.
Especially like as large as like the crazy velociraptor claw looking thing that we see.
But they do emit some kind of ammonia smell.
They do. That is a real thing.
Yeah.
It's how they control buoyancy. There is another big squid called the colossal squid, and it does have hooks in its tentacle suckers. They're not as big as that. They look kind of. Have you guys ever seen mako teeth? Like mako shark teeth, how they're kind of like thin and curved? They look like that. So, and it's speculated that the colossal squid might be even larger than the giant squid. The colossal squid is kind of the giant squid's fat cousin. Like its body is extremely broad, looking kind of more like the baby squid we saw in this one.
Okay.
So,
well, speaking of that, how much research do you think really went into developing this creature? I mean, obviously,
None.
none.
Well, wanted to think of the most badass thing that could surface from the water.
well,
and,
back when it was written, and when this movie was made, there really wasn't a whole lot known about the giant squid. Like, there weren't pictures of live ones. Nobody had ever seen a live one, really. The best they had to work with would have been like carcasses washed up on beaches. And so, working off of that, I think they did a fairly good job of making it at least look like a giant squid. I mean, of course, when it comes to monster movies, like you always have to exaggerate or dramatize something.
Yeah, I don't think this show has to be faithful to any real squid out there. I think that having a fictional version of a squid is totally fair.
Oh, I think it goes along the time as more, not as much about science as about like going off of old sailors' tales, going back from the times of ancient ships,
like Moby Dick style.
Yeah.
The old sea monster, monster, Loch Ness monster, the mythical beasts.
Mm-hmm.
Type of storyline, and many of those tales, were scary. I mean,
oh yeah,
three-humped serpent.
I
was that nature.
I was mostly praising the design of the squid though, because it looks pretty good. I mean, there are only like a few little things that are like embellishes. We didn't see a live giant squid until I think 2013.
Even the stories of Charybdis from the Odyssey
Scylla.
remind me of a similar squid-like character. You know, it's
Oh, that
a
was
monster in a swirling whirlpool, and evidently it eats people. You know.
that was something I read a while ago. Like the speculation that the heads could have been like arms. I used to be really into like cryptozoology and stories like that. And I remember there was one theory that, maybe squid would approach a wooden boat more often than they would like a modern boat making a lot of noise, like with an engine. So I remember reading things about that, but I mostly wanted to just like praise their creature design, because when you do a monster movie, very rarely can you really have the behavior be accurate. I mean, I know a lot of people probably don't care, but I notice it because of my background in biology. And so that's part of the fun of watching a monster movie like that. It's like, okay, what did they do right? It's like, okay, what did they embellish? It's like, okay, how does it look? And, I have a really great time with that. And for the most part on the Beast, they did a pretty good job. Kind of funny. I was looking for pictures of all the effects were practical in this, by the way, which is kind of amazing because they look fucking great. Except for a handful of shots, and I bet you guys all know what shots I'm talking about. Because, goddamn. I was looking for pictures of the models they used, and I think I actually found the Beast. I ended up at this site called like Prop Warehouse or something. Squid head and tentacles, $400.
Wow.
And it's like, wait, is that? Holy shit, that's it.
Well, and aren't you glad that they actually did not use like CGI? That they actually used a real prop to do this?
Fully agreed. Like, it is, you can tell that it's there in every scene. Like, the movie is so much richer for it.
When it's actually up on like one of the ships or something like that with its tentacles like moving about just that it is mechanically, inclined to move just ever so slightly, and the eyes when he's been tranked, all of a sudden his eye opens. That to me was a little bit eerie.
Yeah.
To me, everything about the way it moved was eerie. Like that was something I mentioned in the review. It's like, despite how much we know about like the creature, like, and how many times I've seen this movie, it's still like unsettling to see it do stuff. Like looking at the dead one, like floating in the water, like during the pool scene, or like right after they blow it up. Like I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that thing. Like prop or no prop.
Red Raven, if there was a favorite moment in this movie that you could totally point out, what did you enjoy the most?
I guess when you finally get to see the squid. Yeah.
So do you think that it took a while to get to a point where you could actually see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was a longer movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, if there was a specific point that you thought that in the miniseries that you could say that you was a favorite moment, what would you what would you say?
Well, actually, I actually like the scene where they take out the raft, but that's just because you're kind of, it shows that it does a lot of character definition right there. But I also feel like the parts that define like his friend, showing the motivation that he has, that I'm going to have to do what I can for my family, though they might have done a little bit over the top for that, or just a tad over the top for that one.
I agree with that. Actually, what happens in the book to him is totally different. So the book is almost a different story. First of all, And what happens to that character's name is Mike. What happens to Mike in the book is he's alone. He's alone on Whit's boat, like out at sea, and like he's like shoveling chum in the water or something. He's doing something mundane, and all of a sudden, like he feels something wrap around his head, and he gets pulled in the water. And it's just like he knew it was happening and prayed it was over quickly.
Mhm.
And then like the next scene is like his funeral, and it's like, damn, that really went off. There's a pretty dark joke in the book at that point too.
Damn it.
Whip and Mike had always said that if one of the had agreed between them long ago that if one of them ever died on the boat, that they would be unceremoniously buried at sea. Mike had been buried at sea, though not in the way they'd always pictured.
Okay.
Jeez. So the ending is totally different in the book too.
Well, what, in the book wasn't the squid killed by a whale or something like that?
Yeah, in the book, the squid comes on the boat basically like it does in the movie, and they are absolutely fucked. They're like, well, we're all dead. Fuck. Like they're trying to fight it off anyway.
Mhm.
And like out of nowhere, a sperm whale, like the squid's natural predator is sperm whales. Like
Yeah.
that's where a lot of information about squid comes from just looking at sperm whales' stomach contents. So while the squid is like busy like fucking up the boat, like a sperm whale is like, oh, food. And a sperm whale just kills the squid. Like it's just and it's the first time I read that, I laughed so hard because it's like it's like something mundane in nature saves the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kim, are you here?
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene in the film? If you had to say a favorite.
Probably when the stupid friend was like, I want to see the squid. Like, you stupid bitch.
Touche.
The effects are so bad. First of all, it's exactly what she deserves. She got what she deserved on that one. But second of all, like the effects were terrible. That weird squealing noise. I'm like, I don't think squids make that kind of noise.
I don't think they make noise at all.
No.
Come on. So what?
Oh, I said I don't think they make noise at all. You're right.
I was like, they don't have vocal cords. That was just, I mean, the effects were terrible. I mean, I liked this movie when I was a kid, but now to watch, I haven't seen it in 20 years. To watch it as an adult, I'm like, wow, this was really bad. But it's like a fun movie to watch, but it still doesn't negate the fact that it's pretty bad.
And the composite.
You, the guy, maybe fought like the one kid, Christopher. She knows him for 5 minutes, and she's like, I just feel like I'm gonna die.
So would you say that this film is just so bad it's good?
Yeah, it's like Showgirls.
Okay.
What'd you guys think about some of like the red herring kind of things they did, where like it looked like somebody was gonna get attacked, like for sure, and then it just didn't happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like that thing.
The dog.
Yeah, the thing with the dog.
Well, you can't kill a dog on screen. Come on.
It sure as heck looked like they were gonna kill it off screen.
At least not on TV.
Like I bet that I would like to see this movie with somebody who like is really sensitive to that, just to like watch them freak out, and I'll be like, no, it's fine, it's fine.
Well, and you know what? We are more sensitive to animals in danger than we are human beings. I mean, it's the truth.
Well, actually, what I thought was going to happen in that scene, because it seems like it happens all the time in movies, is that they were setting it up for the dog to get in trouble, then the kid to jump in after the dog, so that both the dog and the kid have to be rescued from the giant squid. Because that seems to be, children in movies, it's always about, this is somebody that needs to do something stupid to get into trouble so that our protagonist can save the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, what did you think of him as a protagonist, though? I mean, did you think he was...
Which guy? The mayor or the guy who?
What was his name? No, what was his
The
name?
main character,
Whip. Yes, that's who it was. That I can't think of his name for me. I drew a blank there. Whip. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really liked him as a character because he seemed like someone that, I mean, he was knowledgeable and he'd seen enough. And yet there were a few times when I keep thinking, gosh, I mean, to dedicate your life to that kind of knowledge and to learn. And he wasn't really much of a scientist. He just had seen so much, and there's just this sense of intuition that this guy had, and that made him very relatable. And I don't know. I just really I liked him because he wasn't like some brainiac. He was just a regular guy,
Yeah, I thought he was a lot like Brody and Quint, kind of put into one character. Like he had a lot of seafaring knowledge and was like an earnest, like honest person, but wasn't afraid to like stand up for himself or like assert himself.
Oh yeah, no, he was a badass, and when he had to be, definitely.
And if you notice, William Peterson, he's actually from the TV show CSI, but he's also from one of my favorite horror films called Manhunter, which was the
I knew he looked familiar. Fuck!
It was the first film dealing with the Silence of the Lambs.
He was Will Graham in that.
Movies, which is technically the Red Dragon of the series.
but that was a standalone adaptation.
Oh yeah, it was a standalone adaptation, but I actually think it was a better.
It was a great film. I agree.
I love the fucking music. Like the music is spectacular. The movie's great too, of course, but I listen to the music at the gym a lot.
I was trying to decide whether I wanted to suggest doing Creature next week, or because William Peterson was in Manhunter, doing Manhunter next week. So
I'd be okay with either. Creature is a pretty cool movie too, which I somehow have on DVD, despite it being somewhat rare. But I also have the Shout Factory Manhunter. So yeah, I thought he looked familiar. Like I just didn't realize that he was in Manhunter.
I have
awesome.
I have the limited edition Anchor Bay at a relatively low number for the 2-disc of Manhunter myself. So
that's cool.
Awesome.
But if we wanted to do Manhunter, we could do that one.
I haven't seen that movie in years. Seriously.
I was pretty good. I was thinking down the road, since our 100th episode is coming up, we could redo The Thing if you're still with us down the road. Because I figure for the 100th episode, we can revamp on one.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I
wouldn't mind that.
Well, I need to see it because I mean, as old as it is and as old as I am, I've never seen it.
Hey, what did you guys think of their attempt to? It's like, oh yeah, we killed one squid, we can kill this other squid, and like they do everything wrong possible to like fuck it up, and then the squid is just like, fuck you guys. Like, what did you guys think of that?
Well, I mean, obviously the mama squid's been around a while,
Well, and the mama squid was angry when her kid was
pissed off. Yeah,
it was several times larger too, which is part of it.
Motherfuckers, I'm coming after you.
Like, you killed baby.
Like when I first saw that was my favorite scene. I think when I was younger, and probably still now, because it's so intense and like the people are just so ignorant going in. It's like, you're clearly in incredible danger. Why are you still out there? And it was almost funny. And it's like, did they want to be killed? What's going on? And then, like, did you guys catch the little quick moment, like later on, when it just cuts to like the squid is on the ocean floor, just like wailing on the boat anyway? Like, all the humans are clearly dead, and it's just like fucking. It's like, fuck this boat. Grr! It's like it's still mad.
I don't know why, but whenever I see the squid, I keep thinking to the scene of Bride of the Monster where they knock Bela Lugosi back onto the octopus.
Or I think of what is that? There's High Spirits with Liam Neeson and there's a moment where a picture has a squid attack the people in the house, and the house is haunted. And you see the tentacles coming out, and it takes the boy, and you see the boy looking like Jackie Paper bouncing throughout the picture, So, but other than that, anyone else have any Squidbilly tales?
Well, the thing about it wants revenge. Squid and octopi are very intelligent. But I read that emotions like that may be a little bit of a tall order. Like, we don't really know what they're capable of. Like, they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of potential to learn, and they're extremely smart. But maybe not quite in that way. And especially, they wouldn't do parental care like that. Like, they basically just lay dozens and dozens of eggs in the open ocean. So that kind of took me a little bit out of it watching it again as an adult.
Alrighty. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
Oh, dang. Now I remember. I wanted Dane to be on this one because did anybody notice that the music cue they used for the squid sounded a lot like the creature from the Black Lagoons?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Since some of us have
I thought of this movie a couple times that movie when I was watching it a couple times.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, if no one else has anything else to add, I think we'll wrap this up here. Because I think we definitely had a decent discussion here.
Oh, yeah.
You have anything else to add?
I've got a couple things if other people don't.
Sure.
Yep.
Somebody was saying something. You can have your. Who did I cut off?
No one.
Oh, dang it! It's so hard to predict. Like when people are. Anyway, I thought the movie had a little bit of an environmentalism message. With we've overfished, our waters, blah, blah, blah. And that is starting to be an issue. Some of the articles I saw showed that squid and octopus populations are on the rise, and one of the reasons is because they tend to adapt fairly well to worsening environments. And some of the causes they gave would be like climate change, like with the seas getting warmer, like they adapt to it better than other fish do.
Mm-hmm.
And so they start to proliferate. And then when it comes to like the overfishing problems, they just start preying on each other. So like they're known to be cannibalistic. So it seemed to be almost like a warning message kind of. And
yeah, in a way. Yeah. I kind of got that too, actually, where they're like, you know what, if you put everything in a balance, then if you don't leave it anything to eat, then it's going to come after us.
Well, and one of the reasons why hunters go out and hunt deer is part of it is overpopulation of them. I mean, there's no telling when one might just run in front of your car and you'll hit it.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time before they overrun and infest everything. So that's why hunters do go out and hunt these animals down. Well, partially for sport, but you got to think about it's either us or them.
Well, I mean, does it have to be us or
Uh,
them though? I mean, can't we just leave the fish alone in the sea, and can't we leave the deer alone in the ocean? I mean,
Well,
you know,
unfortunately,
can't we?
I've been a passenger in a car when all of a sudden 3 deer ran in front of my dad's van, and the one made it across. The second one, we hit it with the radiator, and the third one just kind of smashed right fucking here,
ouch.
right near me, and right near my face, and
Jeez.
I've been in that kind of situation, and I'm sorry to say those are freak accidents,
Yeah, but it happens.
but
Well,
it
that
happens.
does.
And
Well, and even now you're seeing
happens
like,
because
these
of
videos
overpopulation.
where these giant squids are actually rolling up on some of the beaches and stuff, and it's like it's really kind of creepy when you look at that kind of footage and just see
Well,
these
look at
giant
what
squid.
happened with the British petroleum oil spill.
Yeah,
I mean, that almost knocked out a whole bunch of species of sea animals.
hmm
So, I mean, they're still reeling from the effects.
yeah. Humans are
And
terrible to the
Well,
environment.
what's funny is I walked into Pick and Save, and evidently Pick and Save is backing getting gas for, or well, it's no longer Pick and Save, it's Kroger, but
Yeah.
they're evidently saying that you can earn points for gas for British Petroleum. I'm like, well, they did lose a lot of money. But in any case,
well, that does sort of speak to the issue of like natural balance with the deer, because if the deer had more pressure from like from predators, then it'd be less of a problem. Like if wolves hadn't been viciously removed from the woods, then the deer would be kept more in check. So there is a naturalistic solution to a lot of these problems, and kind of going back to the issue of like the climate heating up. Like people have been trying to observe live giant squid for hundreds of years,
Yeah.
and we've seen them, I think, 2, maybe more times in the last, I think, 8 years.
Yep.
Maybe not even 8, 5 years. In the last 5 years, we have seen live giant squid twice. So what
Yeah.
does that say about the conditions of the ocean if they're coming to the surface?
Well, and you know what? The interesting thing about it, and that's even relating back to this movie in particular, is that, you know, if there's one giant squid, then there has to be more. In fact, it's a shame that with this particular film, The Beast, they didn't actually touch into the fact that, is there more than one of them out there? Obviously that she had her babies, but there obviously has to be more of these giant nasty squids out there. And it would have been so easy for them to make a sequel or a follow-up to this.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
I could see that happening because even the original It was a miniseries back in the day.
Yeah.
And look what they did with with the revamp and how much success it was.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that down the road on this film or a similar story.
Probably I can see them doing like a remake, and probably a remake that's more faithful to the original source material.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the book itself was pretty good. Like the book took place in Bermuda instead of Washington, and so there was a lot more about like the local area involved in that. And the book actually does sort of end on that note, like the beast is killed by a whale, cycle of life, everything's okay. And the final reveal of the book is that there are tons and tons of like baby squids hatching in the area that the squid left behind. So the book does do that. Oh dang! What was my other point?
Alrighty. Well, if everyone's cool, we'll end on that note. And Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
I run a YouTube channel called Septum Sen versus the World. We are all about the physical media, collecting physical media of all types, though we tend to focus on Blu-ray and DVD. I also have a channel that we're working on with my wife. Was it That Nerd Couple?
That nerdy couple.
That Nerdy Couple, which we're going to try and get some videos up. I think we've got one video up right now, but we're working on that. We got a lot of cool equipment, so that's going to be a much better looking channel than the one I've got. But we have I've actually done a recent partnership. We're doing a partnership with Movies Galore. Matter of fact, I shot a review the way, and we sat in on a couple today for some sea life earlier today.
Yep. On Inside Movies Galore, you'll see two new episodes before. Well, actually, 3 episodes back. Because I did a episode of where I reviewed the adaptation of Les Miserables before this. So, where we partnered together and reviewed a couple of films that were related to each other, one being House Shark. So definitely check that out, viewers.
Did you say House Shark?
Yep.
Is it as terrible as it sounds? or awesome?
It's like both.
I was gonna say it sounds either like the absolute worst fucking thing or the best thing. Like, is it as good as Ghost Shark?
As long as it's not boring.
Actually,
that's a good point.
It reminded me of Ghost Shark.
Holy fuck, I loved Ghost Shark. Like, it's such a crazy title and crazy premise. It's like, yeah, I'm in. Like, it's like Crocodile 2, Death Swamp. It's like, is the movie good? No. Is the title amazing? Yes.
Alrighty. Well, Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're from?
Well, I am an indie filmmaker in Salt Lake City, and I actually have a film on Amazon right now called Chameleon Shadow, which came out back in September, and it's done very well, and I'm actually currently in the middle of filming a follow-up. So basically just trying to kind of make my stamp on the world and, just make the best indie films that I can possibly make. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in my career. Is I'm still kind of starting out, but, really having a good time doing it. So
cool. Forward to seeing that sequel, hopefully this coming winter.
I'm hoping to have it ready for Halloween, but we'll see. It is going to be a much darker and scarier film than the last one. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Hooray!
Red Raven, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do?
I'm Red Raven, and I am from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And I'm a local booker. I book shows in the Milwaukee area, and I'm also a dead girl on Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics, and you can find us on Vimeo.com/DDCC.
Awesome. And Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're from?
Well, I live in Milwaukee and collect horror stuff. You can see the few things I managed to post on my Instagram. Good Lord, what does that sound? Anyway, my Instagram, DHR Hunter, all one word. So I'm on Instagram. I share stuff. I have a good time doing that. And I'm also supposed to be an editor for the Movies Galore blog. And my first movie review, is of this movie, The Beast. And that should be available ideally by midday tomorrow. I'm going to finish it up tonight and then run it by some biologists who seemed pretty excited to take a look at it. So
Cool.
there was one kind of really disappointing hiccup. It was like, yeah, I get to look up stuff about squid, and check up everything myself. And then when I was doing my research, I found a chapter of a book on giant squid where like a real like squid specialist PhD did the same thing already. And it was like, on the one hand, awesome, this is a great read. And then the other hand was, God damn it, I wanted to do it. So I'm trying to not quote him. But,
Well, if you do quote anyone, at least you
I
make
have
reference to
references.
where the quote came from. That's the honest thing to do.
And honestly, the fact that the film has inspired you to actually go out and do some research that's a good testament to the film too.
Oh yeah. So
well, the book was written. I'm using resource references the way I do I'm treating it like an academic paper to an extent.
Okay.
And so his book is from 1999. So there's a lot of stuff that's changed since then. I mean, I could do a full-on like analysis of what holds and what doesn't hold anymore, but that would probably take like 4 weeks, and yeah, I have other problems.
Yeah, you'd rather write a small paper than a novel.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2 pages. We're at about a page and a half or so.
Alrighty, and my name is David Streggy. I run Movies Galore Milwaukee as well as Inside Movies Galore. I have been your host for this evening, and hopefully you all out there have been listening intently and gaining some knowledge about this film to maybe watch it yourself. And I'm also a semi-small-time producer from time to time, so there are a few things in the wing that are still having to eventually happen. One of them being Wrestle Massacre, which is going to be finished sometime late August, sometime down the road, and short film called Vulps from overseas, from Hungary. So definitely keep a lookout for some of those. And evidently one of the films that I somewhat produced or helped produce is actually going to Detroit, which I updated on my page as a cover picture. Witchtown, which is going to be at a festival called the Motor City Nightmare Fest, and that will be Friday, 4/27/18 at 5 p.m. at the St. Clair Theater. So definitely take a look and watch it if you can, if you're in the area. So definitely something to think about. In any case, stay tuned, like and subscribe. Everyone say good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Squid everywhere.
Good night.